Everybody, Michelle D'Ambra, self-care coach. How are you? I know it's been like 5 months since my last video. I have been doing a lot of decorating and redecorating, painting walls. I don't know if you have seen my videos. The wall behind me is no longer white. I've been using ChatGPT as my interior decorator. And so I was working on my living room and ChatGPT recommended this soft sage because of all my plants and everything like that. So instead of getting overwhelmed, I didn't want to pay someone to paint. I'm too frugal. And I thought, I just don't want to pay thousands of dollars of somebody coming in my house and disrupting my life. So I did accent walls, 5 of them. I did one wall at a time each weekend until I was able to get through this. So it's been kind of fun and very satisfying to know that I did it and saved myself a lot of money. But because I was doing all of that, I didn't want to overwhelm myself. So when you see that I'm not doing videos, it's because I'm working on other projects and I don't want to spread myself thin, or else what's the sense of being a self-care coach if I'm not practicing what I preach? And that's what I've been doing, is just getting some things done around the house. And then Thanksgiving came, and I hosted my second Thanksgiving dinner. It's been great because my mom, my aunt, my mom's friend, my sister, it's my mom and aunt cooked for decades. And so I feel very grateful that I can take on that big job and they can just show up and enjoy themselves and go home with leftovers. So that's now done. And it's a little chilly today in Texas. We had some storms last night and it's overcast and it was a little cold when I ran some errands. And I thought, I'm going to do a video on resting and restoring for the winter because sometimes we spread ourselves too thin with the holidays between parties and entertaining and shopping, and people tend to be more stressed during that time. So they're drinking more, they're eating more. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think it's really important to not be running around like that. And that's why people get sick. Wintertime is a time to think about a bear. A bear hibernates for the winter. The days are shorter. And even in traditional Chinese medicine, they talk about resting, restoring, eating warm foods. It's really important to do that because what will happen is if you spread yourself too thin, then it will take a toll on your immune system because the days are shorter. So we're not getting enough vitamin D, and not having enough vitamin D lowers our immune system. And then being with people. So the mixture of running around, bad diet, people drinking more, being frustrated because they're dealing with family and family obligations and spreading themselves thin, you're going to get sick. I actually have not been sick, thank goodness, and it'll be coming up 3 years. And the reason why I was sick is because I was spreading myself thin. At the time, I took on a project of helping my now employer, who was my client at the time, and catching up on some things. Plus, I was juggling my other work. So I was working like 12-hour days. And then I came on full time in December and I traveled for work to South Dakota. It was snowing and I ended up coming back and being sick. So I know it's because I was doing too much and that was situational because of what was going on. But the last couple of winters, I make sure I don't spread myself thin. And it's the people, I notice that the people who are contacting me when spring comes around, that they're having problems with their liver and things like that. They probably didn't rest enough in the wintertime. You also don't want to be doing a lot of detox protocols in the wintertime because we should be building replenishing instead of taking away. So don't be doing a lot of sauna, enemas. You don't want to be taking away. It's just a time to rest, restore, and build. And then once the spring comes along, then we let go. And it's a much easier transition if we do it that way. So I encourage you to try at your best. You may have a big family and lots of obligations. And if that's the case and you're still doing things like drinking alcohol and eating sugar, then that's going to be a problem because those things are going to lower your immune system. And if you're not doing more self-care and having a healthier diet and taking supplements, then that will compound and have problems. In fact, I just got this. I have a lot of vitamin D issues. That's probably why I've had challenges with seasonal affective disorder. My genetic report, I do not. I have a bunch of VDR mutations. And so I guess I have a hard time with vitamin D and converting that. So my numbers are always in the 30s, which is not horrible, but it's not great. I don't think I've ever seen it. I don't think it's ever been much higher than 30s. So instead of, because with vitamin D, you need to take it with a fat. And one, I don't like taking a lot of supplements lately. And I don't sometimes remember to take it with fat, with food. So I just bought this transdermal one and just put it on today. So I'm going to try this because um, maybe that'll help me to use it. And I also do I have a little light, and we'll use that when we have days like today is overcast. And I think we're going to have a lot more overcast days than this week with rain. So what I'll do is I'm going to set this up tomorrow and I'm going to use the light therapy every day because I don't like to feel down. I can handle it better because I know what's going on, but the light and the vitamin D help a lot. Um, what are some other things that you can do? Don't spread yourself thin. Um, be more mindful of the consumption of sugar, complex carbs. And I personally don't drink alcohol anymore. I don't see anything positive. So I feel so much better not having something like that in my life. But some people are still allow it in their lives. But those are the things that will lower the immune system. So I would be more mindful of consuming those things in smaller quantities, even though it's more challenging with the stress. And you don't have to say yes to everything. You can say no. To me, my busy is self-care. Like I'll say no to something just because I don't want to be stressed out doing it. So to me, I look at that as if I say I'm busy, that's including my self-care because I don't keep my schedule full all the time. So if my busyness includes self-care, then I'm encompassing all of that as busy. So there's not a lot of room for me to do things that I don't want to do. And if I can't do it and feel good about it, like my mom had her HOA has where people can bring crafts, and they have this craft show. And I was going to help her with it, but she found somebody from church to help. And I had all intentions of going down there and being a part of it. I helped her decorate some stuff. But then when it came up, I was like, if I go down there, my dog's going to get excited that she thinks she's going to see her grandmother, but she won't. I'll be dropping her off. And after I thought through everything and the traffic, I'm like, I'm not. So I just tell my mom I'm not coming. Well, I don't have a problem anymore doing that. I don't want to do something because I feel like I have to, the people pleaser thing. And that happens usually around holidays and with family, is that we feel obligated to do something. And my thing is, if you can't do something and feel good about it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it, because then what happens is we become resentful of the person asking us instead of realizing that we're the ones that said yes when we should have said no. So I think that, those things will contribute to feeling worn down. Um, and that's where, I have to take responsibility to have boundaries and make sure that I am putting up those boundaries as a protection so that I'm taking care of myself. Because if I don't take care of myself, then I'm worthless to everything and everybody. So that's something that I've practiced. And over the years, it's taken a while to really calm the nervous system. I'd say the last 6 months, I feel so much more calm. Like even when I was painting the walls, it was very intentional. I didn't do it as I have to do it and get it done. I was like, okay, I'm going to do this. These are the things that I need to do. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to put on calm music and listen to calm music so that it helped balance out the stress and anxiety that I would feel, taping the walls and sit, because the setup and the tear down is the hardest. But I made sure that I was setting myself up to not be as stressed doing it, because I anticipated that this is a big job. I am 57, I'll be 58 in February. So getting up and down off the ladder, and I had just spent a couple weekends hanging curtain rods in several rooms. So that was up and down the ladder. That's what I've been doing over the last 5 months, is hanging curtain rods, painting walls, even just decorating in itself. I added to my plant collection. So I think I went from like 0 plants 2 years ago to count it. I believe there's 55 plants. And a lot of it is that I propagate them. So that's my hobby. And that's the other thing I'm doing too. When I'm busy, that includes my hobby, which is potting, repotting, propagating, and things like that. I really enjoy. It helps me get in touch with my feminine energy, because my day job is very much project management, responsibility. I'm a CEO. I'm responsible for 4 companies directly. And then indirectly, I support several other companies. And then I have my wellness business. So I'm constantly in this like structured, commanding, task oriented energy, which is masculine. So in my off time, I do things that are more feminine. I even try to dress more feminine and just be more in touch with my feminine side. And that helps balance out that energy. And I see now that a lot of physical pain I had in my shoulders and my back, I used to get massages every 2 weeks. And now, minimum, I go once a month. Sometimes it's every 6 weeks, because I don't have as many problems that I had before when I was stressed out. Because now I understand that if I'm doing too much of one thing, then I have to offset it to something else. And I really enjoy my backyard. Jasmine and I have been going on walks since her sister has gone to for heaven. And so that's been nice for her. And then we're just creating a nice, peaceful environment, because Jasmine's very, other than her being a little snotty chihuahua sometimes, She's extremely loving, playful, and good. She listens. She's very trainable. But when I had the other dog that I had adopted from somebody else when she was 4, she had already been through 2 homes and she didn't have the loving, structured environment. So it was really difficult for me to change that in her. And so with her anxiety and stress, it definitely shifted things. And then when I was married, I was feeling a lot of stress there. And I noticed that the animals felt that because I saw them change when I got a divorce. And then I saw the bigger shift since my other dog's been gone. So Jasmine's allowed me she's more trainable. And I've been able to do things like I started shaving. She gets really long fur around her neck. And I noticed that it's most of the shedding. So I have a shaver that I used to do on my cat. I started shaving that part of her neck, all the fur off, which has helped tremendously with her shedding. And then this morning, I was just sawing down her nails with this little thing that I had gotten last year and haven't been able to use it. And she was really good. So I noticed that our environment being so much more calm and peaceful because our nervous systems are calm, that I'm able to do things that she wouldn't allow me to do before, which says a lot about how animals are affected by energy and their environment. I don't have a loud TV. I don't keep bright lights on, especially at night. Very soft, and I dim my lights. I don't watch like loud TV or violence. So that calm environment will um, create a healthy environment for the animals. And my plants, they're thriving. I talk to them. If you have plants, you need to talk to your plants because they're alive, and so I talk to them, I repot them, I ask them what they need. Sometimes I have to move them around to different parts of the house so that they can get better sunlight. But that's pretty much what I do in my spare time. A far, far cry from what I did most of my life. But part of to kind of go back about the self-care in the wintertime and just in general, if you're on a healing journey and you're switching your diet and you're doing certain things and it's not changing, and I've said this in videos before, let me get closer to the mic because I know that my voice drops, that um, it's really important to make sure that other parts of your life are healthy and in alignment, because when that's healthy and we're in alignment, then we have a lot less health. I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my entire life. And I know it's because my environment is really healthy and peaceful. And it's not only my exterior environment, like I have a healthy work environment, the people I work for, with, that work for me, are healthy. And my home life is healthy. I have wonderful neighbors who, I'm very lucky to have. So everything starts to change. It's interesting how your life will change totally as you start to be brave and let go of things that are not working for you, that are not healthy, or that are not um, living at your highest form of who you should be in this world. And sometimes it's hard to figure that out because our brain, we're consumed. There's many times in my life where I was too consumed with the past and that victim mentality. We've all had childhoods that were stressful or dysfunctional, but there comes a time where we have to say, okay, my parents did the best that they could with the understanding and the consciousness that they had. So I can either blame and say, all my relationships were bad because of X, Y, and Z of my childhood, or I could say, you know what, I take responsibility because, I chose these relationships. I could have chosen differently, but because I did not heal, then I was choosing what was familiar. And sometimes we stay in unhealthy environments, situations, and relationships because they're familiar, not because they're good for us, but because they're familiar and because we're scared of the unfamiliar and letting go. And I believe that, in the summertime for me, and usually how I feel, if people think about it, it probably resonates with you. But in the summertime, it's like, yay, we're busy, the sun's shining, we have longer days, you're outside more, you're enjoying life more. And then the wintertime comes and we slow down. And I believe that it's a good time for self reflection. And there were times in the past that was a really bad time for me because of my thoughts. And I didn't understand what was happening with the depression and the vitamin D and the lack of sun and all of that. But even after understanding all that, taking responsibility that my thoughts were dictating how I felt. So I think it's really important to work on having healthy thoughts and not ignoring them, because we need to acknowledge that sometimes they're not great, but work on, why am I going back and thinking like that? What am I getting out of it? And, I love Dr. Joe Dispenza because he talks about breaking the habit of being ourselves. And we truly do have to break these habits, that become, we become this angry person. Have you ever talked to somebody that's still complaining about something from 20 years ago? It's become their personality, or something that happened in their childhood. It's become their personality. So that's where taking responsibility that, hey, I'm an adult now, whatever that happened in my past, but what am I going to do today to have a better life? What am I going to do differently instead of blaming? Because we always have the power to change. Every single day, we can become the better version of ourselves. It's never, ever too late. And I think one of the reasons why I used to be more hard on myself and others. I'm not as hard, but I still have a lot of hope because I think about where I came from and where I am today. And so maybe I believe in the power of change because I've seen my life drastically change. And so that's why I do what I do, because I believe that we do have the power to change our lives at any point in time. You know, 3 years ago, I went through a divorce after being married 5 years and being with that person for 6 years. And I had to disrupt my whole life. I moved, I came back to the Houston area, which I swore I would never come move here again. But I wanted to be near my family as they were aging. And I made these big, big changes. I stopped my business, went back to work for my old boss, changed my career. You name it, I changed it. I was going through so much. I think from 2017 to 2021, I moved one, two, three, four, wait, one, two, three, four, five, 6 times, 6 times in 5 years, lugging 3 animals and making these massive changes in my life. It was really hard. It was really hard, but I just kept going through it because I knew that I knew that this next stage of life, that my parents would not be around at some point. And when I did move here, my father passed away unexpectedly a year and a half ago. So I've been here 3 years. I was able to spend some time with him. But I knew that I wanted to be near my family during this next stage of life. But I did not want to go through what I knew would be difficult times in my life, feeling the way that I felt. The only way that I could change how I felt was to completely change my life because I wanted a more peaceful life. And unfortunately, my marriage was not peaceful. And so I had to say, okay, you know, it's not working, and just be brave and make all those changes. So I don't think that you can heal physically if other things are out of alignment and that are not healthy. You have to wait, sweetheart. Here, my dog has to go potty, so anyway, it's difficult to change your health and the physical things that are going on if one, still living in the past and blaming, two, your current life is somewhere is unhealthy. That could be your own relationship with yourself. It could be, I have people that I know, clients, people that have been working a program that are still doing very toxic things. They're still smoking, drinking, eating badly, but wanting, supplements and coffee enemas to change their life. I'm sorry, but it's not going to happen. You're completely wasting your time if you're not fixing these other things. And then our own thoughts, are we having a healthy dialogue in our heads? The other is exterior relationships, job, family members. Sometimes you have to leave the person that you're with because it's very unhealthy and toxic and they're not willing to change. You may have to let go of family members and go no contact or very little contact and set up very strict boundaries with them. The other could be your work environment, you know? So then it's like, okay, do I need to find another job? Is there something I could do different? These are all things that it doesn't matter if you eat healthy and take supplements. No practitioner and no program is going to fix all these other things that you're not willing to look at and change. So I would say during this more slow time in the winter when we're not running around with longer days is really looking at what is working, what is not working. What can I change? What do I have the courage to change? If you're not familiar with the Serenity Prayer, it's fabulous because it really helps us to go, okay, can I accept what I can't change? If the answer is no, do I have the courage to change it? And that's what I had to do. I did not want to accept what was going on in my marriage. So I had to have the courage to leave. And these are the things that will really help you thrive. I feel, I'm going to be 58. So I don't have the energy that I had when I was younger, but I can run 5 companies, take care of my house, take care of my dog, fit in exercise and self-care, and feel more grounded than I ever been. So to me, I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I don't have the energy that I used to have, but I am the healthiest that I've ever been. And I noticed that I had more energy when I was not weighed down by trying to please someone or make a relationship work that wasn't going to work. That was so draining. And now that I don't have that draining my life, it's amazing how much more energy I have. So if there could be something that's draining you internally or externally that's going to prevent you from healing. So I would encourage and invite you to look at those things during this time that is, to me, more calm, peaceful, self-reflection, resting, restoring, because once spring comes and you're not feeling well, it'll be because the winter is too stressful and too much running around. So I will end that because my poor little baby has to go parties. But I wanted to come on here and say hello, wish you a great holiday. If you don't hear from me before the end of the year, then I wish you a happy new year. I'm hoping that one day Josephine can join me for videos. Her mom has been sick, and so that's consuming a lot of her time. So pray for her mom. Her mom is named Anne, and I hope that she can join us soon. But I understand that, her mom is important and her energy is going towards that right now. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions, and do a like, subscribe, and I will talk to you soon.